All right. As you know, all of our meetings start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If we can stand up. All right. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Now, under the rules, after we do the Pledge of Allegiance, we're supposed to do a moment of silence, but as you know, we don't do that here. We do here. Hang on 1 second. It's connected. We do a moment of righteous anger. I'm not interested in being silent. I am interested in being pissed off. And there's a lot to be pissed off about right now.
You got that right.
I know for me, as you know, I've got 4 adopted kids who are all black or Latino. It's a scary freaking time to be their dad right now, right? And with all these ICE raids and everything else that's going on in LA and everywhere else. Took book bans right here in Hillsborough, signed off on in our own Democratic county. They're by our Democratic politicians. There's a lot to be angry about. Who else is angry about something right now?
Yeah.
What are you angry about? Be like
Potholes.
potholes? What makes you angry about potholes?
They're all over corners of the road and it's dangerous. There's accidents every day. It's you know, that's one issue I mean. I got a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the day-to-day issues, the stuff that impacts our life every single day. That should make you mad. That's the kind of thing our politicians should be responding to. Who else is angry about something?
I'm angry about the fact that my last name is Sanchez. My family's been here 150 years. And yet I've got a little paper in my car telling me what to do if they stop me.
Wow.
Because they are stopping America.
Oh, absolutely. We have to have our children practice saying,
Yeah.
I am American. I was born in the United States. My parents were born in the United States, and I am a citizen. And my 3 Latino children are 9, 7, and 6. We have to practice that at the table for that exact reason.
Right.
They were all born here. They're all citizens. Their biological parents were born here and were citizens, and their adopted parents were born here and were citizens, and it doesn't make them any safer.
Right.
Who else? Chris Radlich. What do we got, Chris?
I can't remember which Republican board member is, but apparently his major mission in life right now is to ban books in school.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Keep us down.
Yeah, because books are so freaking scary, right? You know, God forbid we read something.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be mad about, right? I'm sure every one of us can come up with 20 more of these. I don't want to spend the entire night talking about what we're angry about, but we're not going to do this moment of silence nonsense. Because we're not going to be silent. We're going to be pissed off and we're going to do something about it. But that's the key. It's not enough to be angry. You have to be ready to organize and bring community together so that we can actually do something about it. So that brings us to our why. Why are we here? You already heard me talk about my kids. You guys hear this all the time, right? I bring up my kids every chance I get. There are pictures on every background I've got. And my kids, and the same thing with my wife. We met when we were 19 and she got less rights today than she did when we started dating at 19. And I had a full head of hair and gray in the beard. Now, that's my why for why I'm here, spending time away from my family and spending time away from the things that I would like to be doing. Come out and fight. Anna, do you want to tell us why you're here?
Yeah. I'm first generation Cuban. My family is from Cuba. They came here legally and not all of them have their citizenship, you know? So I've been like really urging them. I don't want them to get deported to where? Cuba? How are they gonna get there? Why are they there? They left because of what's happening here. What's happening over there, what happened over there, it's not happening here, and it's fucking bullshit. And I want to change that. Nobody should have to go back to a fascist communist country when this is a melting pot. We're supposed to all be one. We are all one. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, that's why we're here. That's why I'm here, to try to change it, get it back to where it's supposed to be.
Awesome, yeah, to try and change it and make things better. Does anybody else want to share their why today? Anybody else? All right, we'll move on from there. Oh, I'm sorry, now,
Why are we here? Why am I here with my right here? We need to change, we need to correct it, like she just said back there, that's what we're all here for, fight for the immigrants.
Fight for women's rights.
And women's rights, correct,
Fight for what is right.
absolutely.
Totally decent.
and to fight for just our day-to-day lives, potholes, right?
Yeah.
Because these are the types of things that impact us day to day, from driving down the street to being worried about if your kid's gonna be there when you're in the pickup line at school. All of these things are resolvable problems. With the right politicians and the actual motivation, we can fix that stuff. So, what are we gonna do about it? We're gonna be the anti-Democrat Democrats. We are going to stop talking, because that is what Democrats always do. We talk a big freaking game. I mean, for God's sakes, we got Cory Booker up there talking for 25 hours and then selling out the first chance he gets. We talk all the time, not the East Hillsborough Democrats. We are going to stop talking and we are going to start doing. So our number one platform of what do? We put in the work. We are getting connected with community organizations so that we can start volunteering with the people who are already doing good work in this community. We have no power. We have no freaking money. So what can we do? We have to borrow the model of the Black Panther Party and make sure that we show up and actually get stuff done with people power, because that's what we have, right? Now, when we do that, we will grow more people. You'll hear from Misty later today on our membership, which is growing rapidly, because we have to grow and have a lot of people in addition to the good work that we're doing. Once we're doing good work and we have the people behind us, then we can start getting the things that the politicians and the people in power care about. Money, right? We're going to bring money into this organization. Why? Not because we want money. In fact, many of you who have filled out your white form have talked about wanting to get money out of politics. I want money out of politics. Citizens United has wrecked this country.
Amen.
We need to get the money out of politics, but at the same time, you got to play by the rules of the game as they are freaking written. How they're written right now is that money is a huge part of it. So once we are out there doing the work and we are bringing in people, one of the next steps is we're going to focus on building up the cash coffers of this organization. We are then going to use that money and the volunteers that we will have brought in through the people to help make sure that we are registering voters and turning them out for politicians. And guess what? If our organization can turn out money, volunteers, and voters, you'll be shocked to hear this, but politicians will suddenly be concerned about the potholes that you have to drive over every day. They will be concerned about your family who's been here for years and is now all of a sudden in fear that they might not get to stay here, right? Or your family that's been here for 150 years and is now concerned that you might be treated like you aren't allowed to be here, right? Those are the things that we're going to change, and we are going to influence those politicians for the greater good. Because make no mistake about it, that is why we are here. We are going to make sure that we are out in the community solving those problems visibly so they know that it's us doing it. We are going to recruit people to our cause. We are going to use the work that we do and the people that we have to create that leverage, the volunteers, and to turn out voters and use that influence to get policy done how we want it done, when we want it done, to do good in this world, like what Alan was just talking about. Right? That's the plan. Now, I want to take a pause for a minute to take a note on strategy. We are in an extremely stressful time right now, right? You can feel it in this room, right? Everybody responded to the moment of anger, right? It's real easy to get angry. It's real easy to be scared. And also to do some things that maybe feel like they're good, whether it is talking about, the FAFO, fuck around and find out when somebody has something negative happen to them, or to celebrate that, hey, maybe there's something that potentially is violent that is happening, but it's on our side, so we feel like it's good. I would highly urge all of you, and I know, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm a retired law school professor, so there's book recommendations out the wazoo in this plug, so get ready. The Blueprint for Revolution is hands down one of the best books I have ever read. The Blueprint for Revolution was written by the group that overthrew Milosevic in Serbia. Non-violent. Non-violent. They created a not-for-profit that then consults with groups around the world who want to overthrow dictators to teach them how to overthrow dictators non-violently. If you want to overthrow a dictator, these are the people who know how to get it done. And you see, yeah, throwing flowers, right? I knew Janice would like that. One of the things that, here, this is not a quote from the book, but this is a summary of something that is pointed to in the book where they talk about the success rate of non-violent revolutions versus violent revolutions. Non-violent revolutions succeed at a rate of 53%. Violent revolutions succeed at a rate of only 26%. I will tell you, as the parent of a black daughter, when you see stuff like what happened in 2020, the last time Trump was president, with George Floyd, does it make me want to be violent? Hell yes, it does. When I see what's happening to Latinos all over this country, does it make me want to be violent on behalf of my other kids? When I see what's happening to women, does it make me want to be? Of course it does. It's kind of hard not to respond like that out of anger. But the question is, do you want to be right? Oh, with my gun, I'm sorry. Do we want to be right? Or do we want to win? I want to win. And if we want to win, statistically, the most likely way to win is to be nonviolent. So as we come up on these No King protests, as we come up on things where we can expect ICE or other organizations to try and provoke Democrats to respond with violence at some point, do not step into that trap. Because it's a trap. They don't want you to be able to overthrow any of these systems of power. We need to be smarter than that. Books like this are how we get there.
Is that the author's name?
That's the author's name, yeah. Serge Popovich. I really hope I'm not butchering that. If this ever gets out on the internet someday.
I would have said it the same way.
Yeah, something in that zone. It's spelled out there, but yeah, you can look it up. This should be in almost all the libraries, so grab a copy of it.
I've got it on, East Hillsborough, on the library for Hillsborough County.
There we
It's
go.
on hold because people are reading the book.
See, there we go. Lots of people reading it, which is good. This is all about non-violent, unique strategies for how to do this, right? And it gives tons and tons of tactics for doing that. We actually just saw a tactic straight out of this book from trans women. Why? What did they do? They protested topless. Why?
I'm not doing that.
Because men, like me, can be topless. And if Republicans think that trans women are actually men, then they're allowed to be topless, right? You put them in an impossible position where they look ridiculous no matter what they do. Because if they cover up those women's boobs, okay, well then they're women. If they don't, then all of a sudden, what are they saying, right? So it puts them in an impossible position. Those are tactics straight from the Blueprint for Revolution. We can take those and use those to our advantage. Okay, so I would urge you, as we head into this summer, which I expect will get somewhat aggressive at different points, please, please, please consider that the most likely way to succeed is to be nonviolent. Okay? Now, let's flip to what we had going on here recently. We had our cookout for the East Hillsborough Democratic Club going, which went awesome, right? We had what would you say, at least 50 people there, maybe 75. We had a lot of people show up to the event, which is crazy because it got canceled. It was supposed to be on Saturday. We had to cancel it, move it to the following day, and we still had that many people. It's a testament to the fact that we are getting out there and letting people know who we are, what we're about, and what we're building to start trying to change things here in Hillsborough, and eventually in Florida, and eventually in the country. Okay? So we've had a lot of people here, and I would like to give a special thank you to Chris, Susan, and Evan. All those things you just saw, the banners, the tablecloth, the coolers, Chris and Susan took care of all that. They got there early, they set all that stuff up, they made sure that we had the things we needed to do to be able to do this, and Emmett started cooking the day before to make sure that we were ready to go.
I guess like one thing, that's not a skirt, that's an apron. Well, that bitch like I had a skirt on, like, what the hell?
But in all seriousness, Chris,
We have-
Susan, Emmett,
yeah.
thank you very much. You guys are what made that possible. Thank you. All right, let's talk about some updates, coming out of the board meeting and our last meeting. We're gonna be updating, our website. In order to do that, however, what we're gonna change a slightly part of the structure. You know, my wife and I are donating the money to not only take care of the website, but an ongoing donation. Part of that, we're gonna change one thing slightly, which is that I'm just gonna pay for the website myself and then submit a thing for reimbursement to the club. Walt is traveling. I don't have access to the debit card for here. The board approved that, but I just want to let you know that that's one change that we're going to be making procedurally. T-shirts. We talked at the board meeting and took a vote, and our recommendation to the group is that we incorporate directly into the website the capacity to sell the new East Hillsborough Democratic Club shirts so that we don't have to carry any stock. It's print on demand, so it will then automatically be fulfilled and we don't have to do anything. And anything that makes our lives easier, I think is a good thing. So what I would like to do is, would someone like to make a motion to incorporate a print on demand element to the website? We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say nay. All right, we're good. So we're gonna incorporate the t-shirts directly into the website, so that we don't have to carry any stock. We don't have to carry any of the expense of having that. So we're good to go there. Let's talk about meeting places. We've had a change since the last meeting. As you can tell, we're bringing in more people here. This space is great because it's free. Here's the problem. As we start to recruit and as we build the website up with, you know, all the SEO tricks and all the other things that we can do now with, you know, having a president who's owns an AI company and a digital marketing company, we're gonna bring more people in, even than we already are. And so as we grow, we're gonna quickly outgrow this space. The plan as of the last time that we were here was to move into one of the union halls. Now, here's the challenge that we have. We are just a local Democratic club. There is a larger group of Democrats called the Hillsborough County Democratic Executive Committee, who unfortunately has pissed off a bunch of the unions. We are now gonna pay the price for that. So in the last meeting, we talked about that we could get a union hall for free, for meetings moving forward. Unfortunately, because of the disconnect between the Democratic Party and the unions, they came back and said, hey, it's gonna be $150 a meeting. We, I think, have about $1,000 in the bank. Walt's not here to give the treasurer's report. You got it, Susan?
Yes.
Do we know?
One
We'll
thousand,
consider this the treasurer's report right here. Hang on.
okay. 1,055.
You need the mic.
1,055.78.
So it's $1,055.78.
That's more.
Any type of meeting space that's gonna cost $150 a meeting, it's just not in our wheelhouse right now. Now, would it be great? Would it give us all the room to grow that we want? Absolutely. But that's something where we just can't do that right now. So then we looked at Advent Health. While Advent Health in Riverview on 301 was being constructed, one of their towers had a series of meeting rooms that could be used for free. Unfortunately, that was exclusively while they were doing construction. So we talked with them, and it turns out that that option, which would have been free, is also out. I have reached out to, I think, Misty, was that you? Misty had mentioned attending a meeting at the Early Learning Coalition of Hillsborough County. We are going to see if it's possible to do a meeting there. I reached out to them directly. I've also reached out to Hillsborough Community College. They recently just raised the rates of all their meetings, but they also just asked me to come in and give a lecture to all their staff about artificial intelligence, which I agreed to waive my fee on. So I'm gonna now ask, hey, by the way, how about we have a meeting room for free for our employees? We'll see if I can pull that off. If not, oh, sorry, yes. Yeah, this is Jen.
The early learning, what, is that the what used to be the children's board?
No, no, this is on MLK by I-4.
Children's board, we used to have our EPC meetings with children's board, and they have all kinds of meeting rooms. You have to be out by 8 o'clock or
Okay.
so.
Children's board, yeah.
Well,
I'm
that's-
gonna call
yeah,
you on that at the end of the meeting.
Children's board
Jenna, on the
is
children's
on
board.
phone.
Yes, we-
Have you considered the Shriners at this part.
I have not, I have a space right
They're on the
here.
river,
Yeah.
Okay.
restaurant, they have meeting rooms that they have a lady that handles all the rentals.
Can you take some notes on that, Shriners, and what was your Janet?
Children's.
Oh, that one I know.
Okay, so Shriners, Children's Board, and then Misty, I'll grab those
The
notes.
library.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's.
Why,
I'm just curious why you're not using the library.
So, the library is actually the very next slide. So, couple of things. The library here in Brandon, has a meeting room that has a maximum capacity of 50 people, which we're already almost at right now. So that means the Brandon library is out, so we have to start looking at other libraries, particularly like the Bloomingdale Library, which is where the Southeast Hillsborough, Women's Democratic Club, meets. That is kind of further away from some of like where our core constituency is, but that is a place that might be possible. And so that is something that we're looking into. We're just trying to see if there's anything else, available. Yes.
Yeah, Riverview Library, that was your first picture before you started
Oh,
talking. The Riverview Library has a big room, that's a
Okay.
new one on, McMullen or.
Okay, so the Riverview Library may also be an option.
Tuesdays are the worst day for.
And with the library, so hang on.
Tuesdays were the worst day to try to get a reservation.
Okay. So that will be something, we are trying to get this sorted,
Did she say Shriners?
Egypt Shriners,
said
it's right here around the corner.
Egypt, like the country, is that what you said?
Yeah, Egypt
Oh, okay.
Shriners, they have a big facility behind that Dunkin' Donuts, right by the river.
Okay, got it.
so these are good problems to have, right? I mean, like, we were a group at the end of last year of only 16 people. Now we're concerned that we're gonna have more than 50 people. These are good problems to have, but they are still problems that we have to resolve.
Most of the large churches have recreation. But if it's not on a church day or night, that's great try. But most of the larger churches.
Perfect, so that was a recommendation of potentially churches in the area, which I think,
They're called.
they have recalled, do you have your hand up as well?
Just to piggyback on the church, it says the synagogue. John Moore.
Okay.
And then also, what about, my second question, not the appropriate, answer is, what's going on with these unions? I mean.
Yeah, I wanna know that.
Yeah.
So.
Couple of things without stepping into too much of the mess, and I can get into more detail, when we're not having a video recorded discussion.
That's fine.
One issue is after the DEC elections in December, there was a union hall that they used for much too long and that they did not return to its proper state, which then meant that when they had an important union meeting the next morning, it was not set up the proper way. Secondary thing is that the primary connection, with union leadership and, Democratic Party, was the prior executive director of the Hillsborough Democrats. There is a dispute where the prior executive director of the Hillsborough Democrats says, I was told my contract would not be renewed. The Hillsborough Democrats are saying, oh no, we said we would renew it. Sometimes a dispute there, he was the connection to the money at all of the unions. As a result of that connection being severed, there has been a severed relationship. More complicated than that, that's kind of the 30,000. That make sense? All right, so as you can tell, a couple of our problems kind of stem from this, right? Money, right? We could be in the union hall if we had much more money. We don't have that right now. So couple of options for what we can look at. We had a request to take a look at what if we were to do a 50-50 wrap. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. So benefits of having a retired lawyer and law school professor. I will actually go read all these laws to see what we can and cannot do. So these are the Florida statutes, talking about that. Basically, it's unlawful to run any version of like a 50-50 raffle because it's considered a lottery, with an exception of if you are a charitable nonprofit organization, unfortunately, they define that exclusively within the 501 section, which excludes political. And so with 501 is a section within the tax code where like if you've given money to a charity and got to write it off, it was one of these 501. Numbers followed by a letter and then another number. We don't meet those requirements. So that means we don't meet the exception to be able to do anything related. However, Lee County has looked into this, and this comes from a Lee County guidance document from about 10 years ago, 2015, about doing a fundraiser without a purchase requirement. And so, for example, if we were to do a fundraiser, which we of course would never, ever, ever call a 50-50 raffle, because that would be illegal. So we would never call it that. If we were to do a fundraiser of some sort with a different name, that let's say you got 50% of the money that came in, something along those lines. In that scenario, if every person who walked through the door was given a ticket and asked to give their name to Misty, say, hey, you get a ticket if you give your name, your phone number, your email to Misty as part of coming in, that means there is no prohibition to everybody, right? Now, additional people could say, hey, I'd like to donate money to get more tickets. In that situation, it is a loophole around this law that we could potentially run. So, is there a way that we could do something that would be like a 50-50 raffle, but for legal purposes is absolutely not a 50-50 raffle? Can we do it? Yes. The downside to that is we live in a country, in a state controlled by Republicans, right? So here's the challenge. If let's say that as we continue to grow, we get a bigger and bigger target on our back, right? I talked to someone at the FDP who said we are the fastest growing Democratic club in this entire state, based on the numbers that we have. So I'm going to guess that we're going to get a target on our back, right? If we get a target on our back and we're doing something like this, even if there's this loophole, all it would take is one prosecutor bringing this case, and believe it or not, that $1,055 that we have in the bank will not be sufficient to provide the criminal defense that we would need, because if you take a look, these are criminal statutes that lay this out. So this is something I want to kind of put to the group to ask. Is this a risk that you guys want to take? Or is this something that you'd like to take a pass on? We have found a loophole, but it is a loophole that comes with risk. Yes.
Would that fall under the violation of civil liberties with the ACLU, or is there any kind of protection? We're gonna try to do it the proper legal way, and somebody comes after the group?
Probably not. And the probably not is because ACLU is really looking at violations of civil liberties, right? Our speech rights aren't being violated. What we're being denied is the ability to maybe make a little bit more money in our meetings. That's not really a civil right. And so in that situation, I would expect that we would not be able to get enough for profit to represent us, which would mean we'd have to pay a lawyer, pay them a lot, which would be enough to effectively shut this organization.
No pro bono.
No, I mean, I could try and pull some favors with some lawyers that students of mine, but yeah. But now if we're at the point where we're like, we gotta beg some favors, that's not a great situation.
So we're gonna need money, we just need to figure out how.
Money in a different way, I think, so there is this loophole that it is possible to do. But it does have a very big downside. Yes, Alan?
She mentioned,
How about just a tip bucket?
A tip bucket, that we could absolutely do. We could do a tip bucket, we could do some things where we look at donations, and do a number of things like that. And there are other, oh, yes, Misty.
Could we change, other people. Could we change the dues, membership dues? Could we change the membership dues?
That's something that we could look at doing. I think that's a discussion to have with the board first, before we open that up to a general discussion, because we want to look at what that might look like. And also,
Okay.
I would be concerned about at a time that we are trying to grow the organization, making it cost prohibitive for people to join at a time when everything is more expensive.
Right.
And so like, this is a time where we want to draw in as many people as humanly possible. We want to keep the cost as low as possible. And so this is a creative way to try and think of how to do that. There are other options as well. I will tell you, oh, sorry, hang on, I'll come back. Chris has a comment.
We did collect $45 at the picnic for donations. And in the past, when we like rented a trolley for the Fourth of July parade, I would put up a PayPal button on our website. And we were able to get donations to cover a great deal of the cost. You know, it's just the reason why I bring this up is because it's simpler and easier way to make sure there's money in the club rather than constantly saying, hey, please, can you help us?
Yeah. And there are other organizations within the Democratic Party that are doing 50/50. So like, this is a thing that can be done. I'm not gonna mention any of them, because we're gonna have a recorded Zoom where I identify the target for potential future prosecution.
It's back
It's 50/50 and the thing
It's back
would,
there.
that would violate
Oh,
the lottery exception. And so it is being done. I would just say as a lawyer, I would be,
Oh, you have to come up with a clever name.
yeah, we can come up with a clever day, we can come up with a way to use this three county exception.
I was just
I'm like,
looking
hey,
at that.
everybody gets taken, the benefit they want in. And then if you want more chances to win, you could then donate money to get it. Right? That situation would technically get around it, but if they ever decided to come for us from a prosecution, we would have effectively, unless these. Whatever we're gonna call our not any raffles, raised a bunch of money, we would not be able to afford the lawyer that it would take to defend. So, it's something for us to discuss. I wanted to bring this to the general membership. We're gonna discuss this at the next board meeting. And then potentially bring a motion to the floor to see like, what do people wanna do? But I just wanted you to know kind of like where the landscape landed there. There are additional. There are additional options that some other clubs are doing. Where they are, when they're having these meetings, they are having their meetings sponsored by local. Which is something that we could also do. That is something that I wanted to bring to the floor then, because that's something where many of you, as we mentioned earlier, have said, I want to keep money out of politics, right? At the same time, if we go out and we say, hey, companies, we'd love for you to sponsor us for $150 a night, you get to come up here and you'll be on the agenda and you'll get to speak for 5 minutes and do those things. Does it bring us money? Yes. Does it also potentially violate some of your whys for why you're here? Yes. So I don't have a good answer for that. What do you guys think about the idea of potential sponsors coming here? It is potential revenue. It is also potentially against some of your whys. Chris Radovich.
That's the method South Shore uses to pay their room rent at St. Andrews. But they have a newsletter or whatever.
Can you say that again, Mary?
The women's club do that also. We've already got 2 sponsors and it's worked real well. They give us $50, then they can bring their information, like, their promotions or whatever. And it's good for both, I think.
That
So-
works really well. That works really well.
Free advertising.
Yeah, so it would be,
The business.
Well, like that.
yeah, so there are no legal risks if we have a sponsorship. I can tell you that. Obviously, we have other clubs using it, so that's definitely a positive. Yes.
If you had a sponsorship and had an auction item.
Yeah, we can,
Promoting a particular product or something.
yeah,
Putting it in, we'll just way off.
we can do that. And another option as we look at that in additional sponsorships is the idea of running an actual fundraiser, right? And so let me talk to you a little bit about it. The County Democratic Party just ran a fundraiser itself, and raised $12,000. That was a relatively small fundraiser, and I can tell you, I'm the president of the PTA at my kids' elementary school. We have 3 people on the PTA, so maybe the president there is not exactly. Like we're on fire. I'm just the one who volunteered. And so, but we, with the 3 of us, ran a fundraiser that raised $24,000 here in Brandon for a local Title I public school. So running an actual fundraiser may also be an option. These are things that I want to plant the seed. We don't need to come to answers today, but we ought to be having a couple of challenges. Number 1, we know we're growing and we're going to need a bigger space. Number 2, bigger space and more people comes with more cost, which means we have to start thinking about what do we want to do with the money in this situation. We have the potential for whatever we would name a not 50-50 raffle. We have the potential for sponsorships. We have the potential to do auctions or to run a fundraiser. But I wanted to start planting the seeds so that we can be thinking about this, so that in our next meeting, we can have a much more robust discussion around these concepts. Yes,
Who does the marketing?
we probably me since I have a marketing company. But
Yeah, okay, you got me on that.
No candy.
what?
No candy.
No candy?
No, I'm not. Oh, yeah, no,
So those are a couple of things that we're gonna want to think about. Now, if we go back to our strategy document, the number one thing that we need to be doing is doing the work to get engaged in the community. Now, one of the challenges we've had is that our lead for the community engagement group had a really bad fall, broke his arm, broke his hip. So I'm gonna step in and help with that for a little while he recovers. So in that vein, one of the things that I would like to do, if you're comfortable with it, today is one of our only meetings we've not brought in a speaker. Moving forward, I would like to have at least one speaker who is someone from a community organization so that we can learn what they're doing, where people are falling through the cracks in our community, and how we might be able to get involved. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, all right, perfect. So moving forward, we're gonna start booking speakers to come in who are involved in not-for-profits and community organizations to come and talk to us, okay? All right, membership. Misty has taken over the membership committee. We've been growing rapidly and she now has.
Sorry.
Oh, hang on one second.
Go ahead.
We now have combined everything from paper into digital. Do you have anything on membership for us?
Not really anything beyond what you said. It's just
Perfect.
trying to streamline the process and use less paper.
All right, one of the things we have been looking at, for the space is we actually have, some targeted lists of individuals who have been doing volunteer work for left-leaning and democratic organizations, to see if they would be interested in joining this organization. So the combination of having the website, set up so that it can be found by people who are looking for it in East Hillsborough, using search engine optimization stuff. In addition to that direct outreach to potential members, we expect to spike the membership quickly. I think given how quickly we have grown in the last 3 months, I know when I gave the first speech, when I got elected as president, the goal was to take us from 16 to 160 within a year. I think we'll be at 160 before we hit the end of this calendar year, based on the current phase. So I think we need to take that pretty seriously, that we are going to need to be looking at financial situations and space restriction, because I think our membership could grow rapidly if we start applying this marketing and some of these things. All right, let's talk about July. Traditionally, for this organization, there has not been a meeting in July. The reason for that is there was typically a 4th of July parade that we would participate in. They just notified us that the 4th of July parade was even going to happen, and they reached out to you, Chris, is that right?
Yeah.
Reached out, said, hey, yeah, the 4th of July parade is on this year. It was very last minute. As a board, we voted not to participate in the 4th of July parade this year. It's gonna be blazing hot, and getting us out there, walking through that at the last minute. Did not seem like something we wanted to do, because we would not be able to put on a really good showing on that short a notice, since they're telling us here in June that this is happening. Because it had been said that this parade was gonna be canceled. So this is kind of a last minute thing. So, there will not be a meeting in July this year. So our next meeting will be in August. What is it?
I was just clarifying it.
Yeah, so, because that was the vote of the board, right? There's no July meeting, start over in August.
I don't remember.
Reports, Janet, do you want to give the minutes? Do we have to do anything?
No, we don't. The only one that really reported she looked at it was Mary. They look okay?
Well, look fine to me.
If you ever see any problems, just let me know and I'll let you know. Usually Chris changes them. He's the one that, puts them on.
Yeah, I sent I believe I sent a copy of the minutes out with the
Yes.
meeting notices there
That's
for everybody to see.
One more thing and then Mary's up.
Okay.
All right, then, because we're not going to have a meeting in July, sorry, it's kind of blurry. Did want to, again, I can't turn off the retired law school professor part of me, make a book recommendation for some summer reading. This book is about the science of how do you actually change someone's mind. We're all about 10 to 4th of July barbecues, where we might be interacting with people that maybe aren't like the people in this room. And we might want to know how to talk to them in a more effective way that might open the door, get them on our side, particularly right now when we are going to have to build a broad coalition to push back against what's happening with ICE, against what's happening with women's rights, about what's happening with any picket issue, any issue you care about in this country. We are going to need a very broad coalition to change. One of the things we have to think about as people is how do we communicate with those people whose minds we're trying to change. If you want to get a great master course on the psychology of how you actually change somebody's mind, this is a fantastic starting point. We're looking at what do you actually do with this. It's available on Audible, ebook, or physical, whatever is your preferred reading style. Can't recommend this book enough. All right. With that, I'm actually going to turn this over, kill this slideshow, and we're going to turn this over to Mary, who actually took it to DC to do some advocacy so that we can all hear what it's like to step into the lion's den.
My name is not Mary, Spicy.
I gave him what for?
I did, I was at a meeting once where someone didn't know who Mary was. I was like, you don't know the goddess of PR?
Mary, you wanna step up to the front of the?
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, Chris, can you turn on the slideshow so that she doesn't have to be,
Okay, I thought it did there.
yeah, highlighted on mine.
Yes, okay, hang on a minute, I gotta figure out, how to get back to that screen.
No. Medical problem.
There you go.
I lost my kidney stone this week. And, I've been doing dialysis and transplants and, the whole 9 yards. So I'm 75 now, so, I think I've done a pretty good job. But anyway, like, first week in May, the, Kidney Action Summit had invited me to go to, Washington to speak to the representatives. And it was a quick trip, it was only, 3 days and 2 nights, so there wasn't a lot sightseeing. They did take us on a bus and we got to see some of the monuments, but that was about it. But it was a really rewarding trip because I got to meet a lot of people, and I'm telling you, I feel lucky because I worked for a company, a large company that provided me with good insurance. So I've never had to worry about my medication, my transplants, or anything like that because of the company. A lot of people don't have that same advantage. So everybody in the group had, problems with dialysis or transplants or something like that. Our main goal of this trip was protecting Medicaid, because like I say, a lot of people don't have insurance, or, I was lucky enough to get a job before my kidney problem started. So, they couldn't even fire me or anything. So, and the Living Donor Protection Act. Right now, if you, say you want to give a kidney to someone, which is great, a lot of people do it, but they're at a disadvantage because, they could lose their jobs. They could lose their insurance. So not a lot of people will obviously they're gonna, volunteer. They think they're gonna lose what they have. Well, what they're trying to do, is put this, living donor protection under the FLMA. You remember that?
Yes.
That way they would be protected. So now I was able to speak to, we had spoke to 3 representatives and our 2 congressmen. Now, these people were from all over the country. There were ambassadors from every state, and every state got to go to their own legislators. Like I saw a representative in Miami, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name. His first name is Carlos. But I got to speak to Vern Buchanan, Gus Killerakis. Now, not them personally, because these people are not meeting with But there's definitely not gonna be any Democrats, but they're not meeting with their own people, you know, so I spoke to, their chief of staff or, you know, whoever was in their office at the time. And Rick Scott and Ashley Moody. Now, this, yeah, I know.
Lots of groans.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something funny about, Rick Scott. His office wanted to get us in the hall. Well, that's not gonna work. So we did find they found the conference room that don't again. But, so as we're going out, we passed his office and his office has, outside of his office has pictures of him and all that. And, they asked me if I wanted to go have a picture made. I said, absolutely not. He would be, why would I want a picture in front of his office? So, Ashley Moody and Rick Scott, they were the least likely to even talk to you about Medicare, Medicaid, and everything like that. Now that Gus, Bill Rochester was too bad, Bernie Buchanan's office were too bad. At least they took notes and asked questions. I think it's Rick Scott's, oh yeah, Rick Scott's person didn't ask questions, didn't say anything to us other than let us tell our story, and that was it. And I asked him, I said, do you have any questions of us? And no. And so you know they weren't interested in what we had to say. But all in all, we had 3 people from Florida, a young lady from Spring Hill, and she had a really sad story because she lost her kidney function even younger than me. She was 16 or so, and she, so obviously she didn't get the opportunity to get a job or anything. So she doesn't get the Medicaid. She says she makes $30 a month, too much to be able to get Medicaid. Oh, which is ridiculous, but that was that first story. And the other girl was a young lady from Miami, and she was such a optimistic type girl. Her mother was with her. She was 28 though, but she lost her kidney function when she was like 2 or 3. So she was very, very young. And she's on dialysis now, so waiting for her to be able to get transplant. But what Medicaid is, it's unlikely that she would be able to get it, you know, because you have to have money for medications first of all, and medications for transplant are very, very expensive. So, but like I say, all in all, the trip was good. I mean, I did get to see, you know, people that was in the same condition as me and the problems that they have, and it will take all of us trying to do what we can to help people to get Medicaid. It's ridiculous. If they can get a big parade for someone that's not even a military citizen, for God's sakes, we can give someone that way. Yeah, thank you.
Think about what Mary just said. We are not able to support people who are trying to donate a kidney or need a kidney. We're gonna spend $134 million sending the Marines into L. $134 million.
From the governor.
I don't know how many kidney transplants that would support, but I bet it's a lot.
Just want to be clear, does everybody know what the Medicaid gap is here? What that is?
No,
What
I
that
think it's
came
like
about? All right, back when they passed the ACA, everybody below 135% of poverty was supposed to be eligible for Medicaid. Doesn't matter if you were an able-bodied person, working, not working, you know, it didn't matter. Everybody below 135% of the federal level of poverty was supposed to be able to get Medicaid. As a result of that, and everybody above that level was eligible for Obamacare and getting subsidies. The Supreme Court in their infinite wisdom, it's hard to swallow, decided that that was blackmail. Because they said if you didn't go to this 135%, you weren't going to get anything from Medicaid. And the Supreme Court said you couldn't do that, because they seem to be letting Trump do that, hey, they're Republicans. But in any case, they decided the states had the right to refuse and stay under the old Medicare. So what happened is, naturally, almost every Republican state decided to stay the old way. But now, because the law was designed to be 135% gets Medicaid, and then you could get the subsidies in Obamacare, the people in between what the old Medicaid was, in Florida, that includes anybody who doesn't have a child. Whether or not you're making $0 or whatever the top amount for Medicaid is, if you don't have a child, doesn't matter, you don't get Medicaid. But all those people now fall into what is called the gap. They cannot get Medicaid because Florida says they can, and they can't get subsidies from Obamacare because the law was written assuming they would be part of Medicaid. So that's what the gap. Last I looked in Florida, that was 800,000 people. And Rick Scott started, and what the state is going, you know, they don't even consider expanding Medicaid when the legislation gets together in March and April, February, March, whenever the 2 months are. That's all they're in. So that's what the gap is, and that's what we've been fighting for 10 years, and unfortunately, we haven't moved the needle. And of course, you're never gonna move Rick Scott.
It's stolen.
Let's talk about all the millions that Rick Scott stole.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you rather talk about the 50 billion that he turned down from the federal government during his time in office? We're both for light rail, Medicaid, and whatever else is because he didn't trust the federal government. Which he was absolutely right. You have a president like the asshole in there, as I call him, the petulant 8-year-old. He's he can't trust the federal government.
All right, so that brings us to the end of what we had planned for this meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Wait,
Oh, sorry, we got one more thing. What do you got?
Okay, there is going to be a training on June 18th. I'm going to send out in the mail. It's for schools, school boards, and it's about something you're very much into, you know, getting the school boards to do things and all that. So I will send it out as Zoom. If you don't need to leave the conference in your home. And the nearest look about.
Hey,
Do we have any other announcements?
No question, not on the mic.
Okay.
Do you need a motion to accept the treasury report and the minutes from the last meeting?
Sure, let's do it.
Well,
Probably,
Okay.
we're all lose something.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever done that, right?
Yeah.
But we could do that.
If you're going to follow Robert's rules of
Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
And because you're growing and expanding.
Yeah, that's a good point, that we should probably dot every I and cross every T, so I
Yes.
appreciate that. So, do we get a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Motion, do we have a second? Second. Can we get a motion to accept the minutes? Motion, can we get a second? Another second? All right, we're good to go.
I was gonna mention the,
Gotta have the vote,
Yeah.
What's it?
the vote.
Oh, yeah, the motion to adjourn?
No, on the two motions that we just.
Oh, yeah, all right. Do we, all in favor of accepting both those motions? Any opposed? Nobody, all right. There we go.
My wife for coming tonight was to share with you how easy it is to, and inexpensive, to have one of these, if you're gonna go on Saturday, or if you're gonna go to any other of the protests that stand on the corner saying things. Not only will it give you some protection, because it's, we're all trying to protect, to not bring them in. Hold on. You can get this, stone and hand embroidered stars, $10 at Harvard Parade. The same flag it loads is $30. $10.
sorry.
2 lightweight broom handles.
Oh,
And-
make that.
Yeah, it's really light, and then you just stick it in the, most of us have lanyards from conferences, then you're not gonna.
Stick it in a lanyard, right here there.
So it's high enough,
That was Harbor Freight for $5,
Harbor Freight, $10,
and then 2 cheap,
lightweight room
lightweight
handles,
room handles zip tied together
Dollar Tree,
with a lanyard card holder.
it's very light, and
Or-
it gives the right message. I actually saw this today.
Less than $20 probably.
Yeah, less than
Where's the
$50.
flag made?
Yeah.
Harbor Freight, it's made
They shut, yeah.
Oh, good.
It's all
Well,
match stitch, it is what it's, or, you know.
That-
So it's not-
We can increase the expense on the flag if we want an American made one.
And it's, you
Where
know,
are we?
it's sustainable, you can use it at your house later.
Good point. though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Anybody else have any announcements or questions or anything before we adjourn?
I have a quick question.
Misty, yes, good.
Sorry. Came to my brain.
Good job.
Is anyone going to the No Kings protest on Saturday?
Where is
Okay,
it?
I'm gonna be there downtown Tampa, the downtown one, not the one here,
Oh,
the big one downtown. 3 to,
I'm going to the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I already have 4.
okay,
My wife Jenny will be at the one here in Brandon.
oh, it is
City
Sun
Center.
City, then it would- okay, awesome. Okay, just checking, let's connect to hot.
Where's the one here?
The one here in Brandon is gonna be at the corner of Providence.
Yep.
Yes, correct.
Oh,
Once you're not parking in Publix lot,
I
because
don't
they were
know.
took. So my wife is gonna move to about spots around there, see where you can park. If there's any questions, you can shoot me a message and we'll see if we found any good spots. There's a park right there. Oh, excuse.
That's like.
Yeah, okay, all right, I looked at it, sorry. All right, okay, cool.
And you can keep. that.
All right. Can we get a motion to adjourn? Do we have a, motion to adjourn first? Second, there we go, all right, we're out. Yeah.
Only thing, that's so bad about the picnic, no fucking politician.
No
what? No fucking politician.
Oh, yes.
Right now, I think that when they come next, if you have it in October again.
No, we're not gonna do October this year.
We're not gonna have. Yeah, we're not gonna fundraise. One thing, no fucking, one politician.